Hello and a very warm welcome to the theIAShub. Sorry for the delay. Due to some technical issues, we are starting just a bit late. We are really sorry for that. And today is the 7th session of the Geography Basics class, which is free of cost for you, where we will be teaching you the basics of geography in a very lucid and the easiest manner possible, where we will give you the content plus quality in an easy and lucid manner. Now, the main agenda of this classroom is to give you that basic understanding before we enter into the geography optional, right? And for online students, if you do have any doubts, please post your questions into the comment section offline. As usual, you can always ask me the doubts wherever you want. And once we are done with this, we'll now be moving to the next topic. Last class we have done with various different topics. Now this class we are going to jump into the oceanography, जहाँ पे काफी basic content which is there that we are going to explain, right? So today our main agenda is to understand the basics of optional oceanography. इसमें we will be trying to understand the ocean bottom relief plus the various factors that impact the temperature of the oceans, right? And please let me know that I'm audible. If I'm audible. So, Sumant Kumar, very good afternoon, Sumant. Very good afternoon, Vipul. Very good afternoon, Shivam. Okay. Now, let's quickly start with our first topic for today is the ocean relief. See, broadly speaking, ocean relief is nothing but whatever you get to see within the interior of the ocean. Now, the slide which you are seeing on the screen is nothing but one of a best example of what do you see in the ocean bottom, right? So I always keep telling you that there are more mountains in the ocean than on the land. There are more forests in the ocean than on the land. There is more life forms in the ocean than on the land. And oceans are considered to be the last resorts in terms of survival for the human beings or for resources also, right? So today we will try to understand when you go deep into the interior of the ocean, what exactly do you find? And how does a geography optional should see the study of the ocean bottom relief, right? So our first topic for today is the ocean bottom topography. So we'll be starting with the ocean bottom topography, right? So in the ocean bottom topography, what exactly we are going to learn? We will be learning about what do you see within the interior of the earth. Within the interior of the oceans. See, a small GIF which you are going to see here, this is how exactly the bottom of the ocean floor is, right? So we generally think that the Uttar Pradesh is considered to be the largest plain area. But when you go into the deep into the oceans, you will see that the plain area within the Bay of Bengal is more. Now, how did these plains form? What are these called? And there are also some mountains. And there are also some shelves, there are deeps, there are middle oceanic ridges. So how do we classify into the geography? This is what something which you need to know. And this is where the basics of the oceanography also starts, right? So quickly, let's move into the ocean bottom topography or else the ocean floor. What do you see on the ocean floor? This is what we are going to learn today. And after this topic, we'll also move to the factors affecting the temperature of the oceans, right? So firstly, coming to the ocean bottom topography or the ocean floor. Now this can be studied by using the various stages of the ocean in terms of relief. Firstly, this can be broadly divided into one. It can be studied under the continental shelf, the continental slope, the continental rise, the oceanic deeps, and then you also have the ocean floor or the ocean bottom. So there is a fundamental difference between the ocean bottom floor and the ocean deeps. Okay. In the ocean deeps, you will study about trenches, and on the ocean bottom, you will find the floor of the ocean. Now, on the floor of the ocean, you can have a sea mount, you can have a buoyant, you can have a middle oceanic ridge, you can have a plain area, you can have a plateau area, and you can have a mountain which is having a flat top. These are some of the basic landforms you will see in the ocean bottom topography. Now, even this entire ocean can be classified into two different types. Now that can be studied under, first one, the continental margins, right? And then you have oceanic bottom. See, your entire continental margins, they can be divided into one. They can be studied under the concept of continental shelf, continental slope, continental rise, right? So continental margins, they are studied under this broad category, right? Now, there can be two different types of continental margins. What are these? Or oceanic margins? They are divided into, number one, active margin, and there can be a passive margin. We'll come back and study all of this. What exactly is an active margin? What is a passive margin? Active margin is somewhere where you will get to see the activity of the plate, the volcanic activity, the formations of the trenches. Passive margin is a plate where there is not much of trenches present. It is a calm plate, not much of activity is seen, right? So every continental margin, either it will be an active or it will be a passive. But what exactly is the difference between an active plate and a passive plate? Usually across the active plate, you will find volcanic activity. You will also find deep trenches that are formed, right? Volcanic activity plus trenches are formed. But on the passive side, these things are absent, right? So before we go and understand all of these things, we'll now try to start with the continental shelf, continental slope, and then the continental rise, the ocean floor, the ocean deeps, right? So imagine that when you sit on the beach and then you wanted to see what exactly is within the interior of the ocean floor, you will see these kind of landforms. So ye hai aapka continent, maybe this is a mountain and this is a plain area. As you go deep in, this might be your beach, and all of a sudden this extension, the extension of the ocean can be seen, and then you have a deep drop. So imagine this is all your ocean. Okay? Imagine this is your ocean. Now on the ocean, the first kind of landform when you enter into the water, broadly speaking, while you move into the interior of the ocean, the first landform that you will see is continental shelf. And then you go where exactly the slope of the angle increases. This is your continental slope. At times, you will also see a landform where the deposition rates are very high, and then a small rise you get to see. And this rise is nothing but your continental rise, right? So broadly speaking, this is how your oceanic floor will be on the continental margins, right? So this part of the oceanic floor is considered as continental, this part of the oceanic floor is called as continental margins, right? Clear? And now if you go to the deep of the ocean, on the deep floor of the ocean, you can see a plain area. You can also see a mountain with a volcano. You can see a mountain which is bigger, and this can have a flat top, right? It can also have a flat top. And then You can also see similar different kinds of landforms where there can be series of volcanic activity which can be seen, or the breakage of the plate can also be seen here, and these can be your middle oceanic ridges. This can be your more, this can be your volcanic peaks, and there can be a bigger volcano. So this is called as seamount. This is called as guiant. A guiant is nothing but where you have a flat top mountain or a flat topped sea mount which is less than 1000 meters, and then seamount is nothing but a mountain within the ocean, usually formed because of the volcanic activity. Here the height of this mountain is greater than 1000 meters. And if you are having a plain area, imagine that you have a large plain area. This is called as your abyssal plains, and there can be small hills. They are also called as abyssal hills. So broadly speaking, on the oceanic floor, these are some kind of the landforms you will get to see. Now see, formations of these landforms we'll be learning in the further classes, but this is an attempt to give you an introduction to the various kinds of landforms and the oceanic floors which are present within the ocean, right? So there's a question. Okay, if you do have any doubts, you can also please comment it into the comment section, right? Now coming to the concepts of active and passive floor. Active floor kya hai, passive floor kya hai? See, active continental margins are nothing but if suppose on the similar continental margin side where you have continental shelf, continental slope, and then continental rise, if you find a trench here, if you are finding a trench here, then that will be your active margins. So for our understanding, what we'll do, we'll draw this trench on the other side of the oceanic floor, right? See, let's try to draw this here. So let me erase this. Imagine this is your ocean, and then this is your continental shelf. This is your slope, and here you might see a rise, and then this is your trench. So broadly speaking, this will be your active margins, right? And this will be your passive margin. This is passive margin and this is active margin, right? ये है basic understandings of what exactly is an active margin, what exactly is a passive margin, right? I'll come to your doubt, just wait for some time. Okay, I know, sir, why is a trench present here and why is a trench absent here? This is the question that is asking me. So I'll answer this little later because we'll divert from the topic here, right? Now coming to one landform by another landform, right? Firstly, let us try to understand what exactly is a continental shelf. See, be it continental shelf or continental slope or even the continental rise, all these three are part of the continent, right? In some areas, the size of the continental shelf can be hardly few kilometers, and it can go extend up to thousands of kilometers. And in some areas, the continental shelf is completely absent. Clear? So let me show you the areas where your continental shelf is present and continental shelf is absent. You will broadly see across the world, there are some areas. If you see the west coast of Chile, if you see the west coast of Chile here, you do not find any continental shelf. So for our easiness, let me take off these clouds. Okay. So if you look here, you will not find any continental shelf on this side. If you know the reason why they are absent, please let me know in the comment section. Now come back, I'll also show you another place where your continental shelf is absent. That is the west coast of Sumatra. Here also the continental shelf is absent or very narrowly present. But why? It is because it is an active margin where you can get to see the mountains with volcanoes. In the active margins, you will not find the formations of the continental shelf. If not, even if they are present, they are hardly present to only 4 kilometers, 3 kilometers continental shelf. Now my question here is, if you go to India, you will find the continental shelf on to India, right? Now, how to identify a continental shelf on your atlas or even on the globe? It is very easy. The continental shelf you can identify when you look onto the map. You can see two different colors on the board. One is a light blue color, and then you have a dark blue color. So this dark blue color indication is that the depth of the ocean is more, and here the depth of the ocean is not much. So look here, this is your continental shelf. This is the continental shelf of India. ठीक है? ये है. Now you look and tell me on which side of the coast of India the continental shelf is wider. Is it on the eastern side or is it on the western side? So this is your western coast of India and this is your eastern coast of India. On which side do you find wider continental shelf? And if you say, also give me a reason why in the comment section. Right? For online, offline, I'll address your doubt. See, India has a wider continental shelf on the west coast, and it has very narrower continental shelf on the east coast. Now, broadly speaking, the width of this is up to 30 to 40 kilometers wide we have. On an average, across the globe, the continental shelves are present on an average up to 80 kilometers. 80 kilometers is the average width of the continental shelf from the mainland continent, right? In some areas, it is 30 kilometers. In some areas, it is 15 kilometers. It depends on the type of the landform it is. But you need to understand that continental shelf is nothing but an extension of the continent into the ocean, right? So look here, broadly speaking, the extensions of the continent itself, the same continent is extended into the oceanic floor. Now the depth can vary up to 600 meters की लेकर 200 meters की बीच में it can vary. Sometimes 30, 40, 50 meters also, right? And there are seas which are completely continental shelf. There are seas that are present which are completely made of continental shelf. So what are the seas called? Can anyone tell me the name of the seas? If you know it, please comment in the comment section. So Sumant Kumar says west, and they say that it is marginal seas. I'll come back to the marginal seas. Now let me tell you, both the continental shelf, the continental slope, they are nothing but the extensions of the continent which went into the water. Now they are the landforms which are collectively made up of continent itself. There are no new landforms, right? Come back, you will understand that overall 7.5% of the entire ocean consists of continental shelf, and continental shelf are considered to be one of the world's finest fishing grounds. You see, continental shelves are the areas where you will get fish and you'll also get oil. If you know the reason why, please comment in the comment section. Why do you get fish and oil on the continental shelf, and why is it absent in the deep sea oceans? As abundantly found, it is mostly present on the shelf but absent on the deep seas. I'll answer this in the next few minutes, but come back, let me show you the areas where the continental shelf is wider. You have some areas where the continental shelf is very wide. You look onto the board here. You go to the Siberian region. In the Siberian region, the continental shelf can go up to 600 kilometers. You see, this is the continental shelf on the Siberian coast, right? Very wide. The continental shelf is very wide, right? Now on an average, here the continental shelf can go up to 500 से लेकर 800 kilometers तक भी जा सकता है. And you come back, there are seas. If you go to the Caspian Sea, or if you go to the Persian Gulf, this is your Persian Gulf. You know, what is the depth of the Persian Gulf? It is hardly few hundred meters, not many kilometers also, only few hundred meters. And you know that world's richest oil is also obtained from the same region, right? India imports 70% of its oil from this region. Now, why is so much of oil present in this region? It is because this is a continental shelf area. But why do you find much of the oil present in the continental shelf area? You have to know the reasons for this as well. Come back, you'll understand that, see, continental shelf, I've told you, these are the areas where there can be a river that can be flowing into the ocean, and the river can bring in deposits, right? Or else, this continental shelf area, at a point of time, it might be above the sea level, and there could be forests, there could be thick deposits, fossil fuels. Now slowly, that can get submerged within to the water. Now for example, let me tell you this. Let us consider today, there is climate change topics which are very hot topics all over the world. You know it, right? Climate change har jagah hota hai. And it is a very hotcake topic. Every time you open a newspaper, you get to learn about climate change. Now, in this climate change, see, for some reasons, there is a rise in the sea level which we get to see. Ocean sea level rise is something which you got to hear. Now, in rising sea level, you will get to see that, imagine that the sea level is slowly rising because of the climate change, but at the same time, you might find some trees here. This is a new area, jahan par much of a forest or vegetation is present, but for some reasons, rise in the sea level ki karan, and today, this part of the ocean might have also come under the rising sea level. And today, this will be your, tomorrow, this will be your continental shelf, right? So what did we see earlier? This continental shelf was present above the landmass, above the ocean, right? And for some reasons, either the land can subside or the ocean sea level can rise. In either of these cases, it is actually the water is entering into the continental area, and then most of the vegetation which was there, it is now submerged, right? And for thousands and lakhs of years, if this vegetation is under the water, which is experiencing so much of pressure, the weight of the water will have pressure. Under these conditions, temperature changes, the pressure changes, even the products or the vegetation which is present, it will turn into fossil fuel. It can be your oil, it can be your natural gas. Various kinds of economic value additional material is generally bound to be appearing on the continental shelf. And if you look into across the world, entire oil of the world, 74% of the total oil of the world is extracted from the continental shelf. I'm talking about 74% of the total oil that you are using today. 74% of the total oil I'm talking, it is extracted from the continental shelves. Now, where do you find these continental shelves? Always they are found across the continents itself. That means 7.5% of the total ocean consists of continental shelf, and within that 75% of the total global fossil fuels are extracted from these particular land masses, that is continental shelf. And broadly speaking, some technicalities, the continental shelf ka slope jo hoga, it is having less than 1 degree of slope. Now what is this like less than 1 degree of slope? See, your continental shelf, if you look into, it is actually, it will be having a slope less than 1 degree. Now let me show you. Look here. The angle is 1 degree or less, right? the slope angle is less than 1 degree. Now when it comes to continental slope, it can vary between anywhere between 2 to 5 degrees ki beech mein hota hai. If you draw the angle, it is 2 to 5 degrees. Before we come into the continental slope, there are few things again you need to know about the continental shelf as well. So I told you that the continental shelf is absent across the Chile coast, and it is also absent across the west coast of Sumatra. But I did not give you the reason why they are absent. See, why are these continental shelves present? They are present either because there is a rise in the sea level, or there is drop in the ocean, the continental level. It can be of any reason. And these days, very evidently, due to the climatic change phenomena, the sea level rise can happen. Due to the plate tectonic movements or the continental drift movement, the continents can subside or the continents can rise. These are some things which you very often get to see, but the rate of formations or the rate of change is very, very slow. Clear? Now come back. So not much widely present, right? Even in the atlas also, if you open, there are 2 different color combinations. The 2 different color combinations will help you to identify where the continental shelf is wider and where the continental shelf is narrower, right? Now, Sumant Kumar says that, sir, oxygen is more widely available in the continental shelf region. Yes, of course. Of all the regions of the ocean, the oxygen is widely available on the continental shelf. Why? The reason is very simple. Continental shelf is a region where you have thick vegetation present. ठीक है? So let's see. ये आपका continental shelf है. On the continental shelf, there is some vegetation present. Very gentle slope it will be having, right? And the sunlight can easily penetrate. The sunlight can penetrate into the continental shelf, right? And good rate of oxygen, vegetation, and life forms, coral reefs, etc. Most of them are present on the continental shelf, no doubt. And they are one of the very fertile regions, and tropical rainforests are present. The oceanic rainforests, I have to say, tropical oceanic rainforests, which are nothing but these coral reefs and other life forms, they are mostly present on this shelf belt itself. Now here you can also get to see the mineral depositions from the river, like that. Okay? If suppose there is a sea entirely present on the continental shelf, I told you that is marginal sea. Now across the globe, I'll be pointing out few places. You tell me, is it a continental marginal sea or not, right? So my question here is, I'll be pointing my stencil onto few areas on the board. Now you tell me, is it a marginal sea or not? So my first pointing is Bay of Bengal. Is it a marginal sea? The answer is no. Arabian Sea. Is it a marginal sea? The answer is no, because the depth of the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, on an average, it can go up to 3,000 meters. It's not the marginal sea. Marginal sea matlab the entire sea should be present on a shallow or on a continental shelf. Come back. What is this? Persian Gulf. Is Persian Gulf a marginal sea? The answer is yes, it is a marginal sea. And in the marginal seas, you'll have good fishes, you'll have very rich oil, very, very rich oil. And that's the reason why you will get to see all the regions across this Persian Gulf are also very rich in oil. They are very rich in oil. Right? Come back. Now, see, let's go to the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. You have the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. See, again, Caspian Sea is a marginal sea. Okay? Black Sea, it is not a marginal sea. Can you see the variations in the depth? This is your continental shelf, and this is your not a continental shelf area, where the depths of the oceanic floor is very high. So much of the oil will be present on the northern side, and this is why the Russia do not want to use or do not want to leave this oil. The main reason for the annexation of Crimea is also an economic perspective, where you also want a sea trade route, no doubt to that, but continental shelves also no country would like to leave. Recent times में एक current affairs था. What is that current affairs? India has fought with Bangladesh in the United Nations court, where it wants to acquire few islands here, but India finally had to give away these islands to the Bangladesh. Bangladesh की favor में आया था वो जो judgment. Why? Because there is a concept called UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas. So this we will study in the further classes. अगर आपको ज़्यादा interested है, जाके एक बार पढ़ लेना United Nations Law of Convention on the Seas and how the demarcation of the territorial land or territorial sea is done on what basis. It is actually on the basis of the United Nations Law on Convention of the Seas. Right? Come back. So, see, Black Sea is not a marginal sea, but you get to see Caspian Sea is a marginal sea. Then let's go to little more north. You have a Baltic Sea. ठीक है? आपको Baltic Sea पता है? Right? Can you see this? The entire ocean is a marginal sea. That's why very rich source of oil is present. Right? Fisheries. Now coming back to the marginal seas, along with the marginal seas, for example, if the continental shelf is very wide, right? If the continental shelf is very wide and you also have a region where warm water and cold water mixes into that region, and they generally have very good fishery grounds, and that kind of fishery grounds you will get to see in this region. On the east coast of the United States, Bay, on the base, see Hudson Bay and the Labrador Current, which is coming from the north, is bringing cold water, and here warm water comes and mix, and this is one of the best fisheries grounds across the world. क्योंकि यहाँ पे the depth of the ocean is not very deep, and continental shelf nutrients are present, right? Like that, across the globe, if you see, there is the continental shelves play a very vital role. And even on to India, you go and check the Bombay High, where do you find the extraction of the oil? The Ambanis, they extract their oil from this region itself, no doubt, right? So यहाँ पे एक doubt online student ने ये पूछा that, sir, we also get oil from the Assam region. We also get oil from some parts of the Gujarat. तो मैंने तो ये कहा था, if there is oil, the oil is 75% of the oil is extracted from the the continental shelves, right? But if at all you have to get an oil, the oil need to be formed within the sea itself, or else the landmass might have been beneath the sea for some time. Only then you can get that oil. Else you will not get that oil. See, the research says that oil is only found within the ocean. On the continental landmass, you cannot find that oil. But why is that oil also being found on the Gujarat coast? Oil is also found on the Assam Digboy. It is because एक time पे, in the Indian geography, you will learn that this entire region was under the water. ठीक है? ये जो region है, it was under the water for some time. ठीक है? This is called as marine transgression, and marine regression is a process which you will learn in the Indian geography. So because of that, this region, even the Assam region, was also under the water for few thousands and lakhs of years. So that is why today we are able to get that oil on these areas, right? So Sumant Kumar has a doubt, sir, what about Venezuela? That is also most oil producing country. See, no doubt, you come to Venezuela. Venezuela is one of the richest oil producing country. Now, where do you find this Venezuela? Most of the Venezuela, it is also having its landmass was once under the water. For lakhs of years it was. That is the reason why you find oil there. Not just that, you also look into the Arabia. This was also under the water. Now all these things you learn in the continental drift, and the concept of rodinia, which we learn into the optionals, वहाँ पे हम पढ़ लेंगे. यहाँ पे only our interest is to learn what kind of land masses the oceanic floor has. And I'll further explain how these continental shelves are formed. There are multiple theories, and in these multiple theories you'll get to learn that continental shelf ऐसे भी बन सकता है, right? I hope now you are clear with the concept of continental shelf, right? Okay, so my question here is, which of the following oceans has more continental shelf area? Is it Indian Ocean, is it Pacific Ocean, or is it Atlantic Ocean? Let me repeat the question. Which among the following oceans much of the area is covered with the continental shelf? Or the largest continental shelf area is present in which ocean? Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, or Atlantic Ocean? Sumant Kumar, in which ocean? Yes. Let me tell you, you look at the Indian Ocean. In the Indian Ocean, broadly speaking, the west coast of India has continental shelf and very narrow continental shelf from the east coast of India. And you come to Africa. Africa, some parts of Africa, they do not have continental shelf very deep, very wide. Madagascar has some continental shelf on the west. On an average, Indian Ocean ke andar 5% of the area is having continental shelf. 5% of the ocean area is continental shelf, right? Now come to Atlantic Ocean. See, Atlantic Ocean, the continental shelf area in the northern Atlantic Ocean, obviously the area of the Atlantic Ocean is very big. Now, broadly speaking, here around 10% of the area of the ocean is having continental shelf. Now go to the Pacific Ocean. In the Pacific Ocean is one area जहाँ पर सबसे कम, very less continental shelf is present, right? क्यों? क्योंकि continental areas of the Pacific Ocean are active margins. Now what are these active margins? Active margins are nothing but those margins which are having either volcanic activity or trenching activity, or deep sea trenches are present here जहाँ पर volcanic activity देखने के लिए मिलता है. Now why that volcanic activity is formed? Again, it is part of the plate tectonics. In the previous classes we have already learned about that. तो आप 2 videos पीछे जाके देख सकते हो इसी playlist में, right? Come back. So most of the Pacific Ocean margins जो है ना वो active margins है. Much of the Indian Ocean margins, they are passive margins, means no trenches are present, very less trenches are present. So let's go back and see the active margins. Active margins, this is your active margin. Now active margin across the Pacific Ocean means trenches are present, volcanic activity is present, all the way from Japan coast से लेकर the Mariana Trench on the eastern side. There are very, very deep trenches which are present. ये सब active margin है. And this is also on the west coast of Andes. This is also, you will find some volcanic mountains here. And these volcanic mountains are formed because here you have a plate called Nazca. Nazca plate, which is an oceanic plate. ये जो oceanic plate है, it is getting submerged and then melting to give rise volcanoes on the top of the South America, right? So overall ये है आपका active margin क्योंकि यहाँ पे trenches भी present है, right? Clear? Now coming to the concept of continental slope. See, continental slopes are nothing but an extension of the continental shelf where the depth of the ocean drastically increases. It can go up to 3000 meters also. The continental slope can drop itself onto 3000 meters also. And then This is on an average, the angle is 2 to 5 degrees. Usually the continental slope sometime breaks. Okay? There is much of the depositions rapidly moving on the continental slope. At times, on the continental shelf and the continental slope, you will find a landmass like this or a feature like this. Can you see a rift into the continental shelf here? Right? And that rift into the continental shelf can extend into the continental slopes also. These kind of rifts. So to be very precise, if I have to show, it is like this. You see here, there's a breakage of the continental shelf. It's not breakage, it is actually because of the Ganga river, and it is flowing with a great speed, or it cuts the continental shelf and enters into the continental slope also. That is nothing but canyons. The deep sea canyons kaha jata hai. The deep sea canyons can be present in the continental slope as well as the continental shelf too. Clear? And on the Indian side, if you see, you will find another canyon. Where do you see that canyon? On the Indus River. Right? Indus Canyon. Can you see this? Yes. Now, broadly speaking, see, this is your continental shelf and then this is your slope. Can you see this slope? Drastically, this steepness of the slope increases. The steepness of the slope is nothing but that steepness is your continental slope. Continental slope ke upar nothing can be withstood, everything falls down. And sometimes when this continental shelf ke upar, all the material that has sloped down and then they get deposited here. From all the sides, they slope down and a material that gets deposited collectively to be looking as a continental rise. Right? A continental rise. So until the concept of the continental rise, this is your continental shelf, slope, and then rise. These three are your continental margins. Right? India mein western side, it is a passive continental margin. Right? But let's go and check another place. Let's go and check. If you look deeply, or if you concentratedly look here, you will find that there is a big gap. There is a big gap. Now what is this? This is the trench. Directly from the continental landmass is getting into the trenches. The trenches are very deep. It can go up to 9, 10, 11, 12,000 meters also. The concept of no continental shelf is there. Directly the continental slope is present. It is sloping towards the deep oceans, deep trenches. Right? Now continental slope का जो angle होगा 2 to 5 degrees की variation के हिसाब से होगा. On an average, अगर देखा गया, so active margins पे the continental slopes are very steep. Passive margins पे the continental slopes are not very steep. Right? So this is the landforms which you will get to see as one tries to get into the oceans. Now coming back to the bottom of the oceans. Bottom of the oceans are nothing but it is the landforms of seamount B, Guiant B, abyssal plains also. And then if you have hills, abyssal hills. It's just that meaning and the definition is slightly different on the basis of the landforms it is. Right? If it is more than 1000 meters and has volcanic origin, ye seamount ho gaya. And if that seamount is having a flat top, or else an abyssal hill which is having a flat top, this is nothing but Guiant. Right? and if it is a plain area, it is your abyssal plain, right? Clear? I hope this is clear. Agar koi bhi doubt hai, please post it in the comment section. I'll be addressing those doubts. Right? I'll be waiting for 5 to 10 seconds. Please mention your doubts. I'll be addressing them. Anything else? Okay. Now, let us quickly move to our next topic. Right? We'll move to the next topic. Sir, what are the objects helps to increase in the continental rise? So, Sumant Kumar has a doubt. Sir, what are the major reasons why the continental rise height increases? See, firstly, let me show you a continental rise, how exactly it looks. When you have a continuous depositions of the continental shelf, see here. See, look, Sumant, this is your continental shelf. And this is your slope. Suppose if there is a river, or if there is too much of depositions, there can be river coming in, there can be deposits coming in the form of wind, right? Streams, whatever might be, everything you consider it as a drainage. If the elements of drainage increases, and slowly the material will start to come and deposit onto the floor of the ocean. Imagine like this, you also have another continental rise, you have another continental rise. When all this material collectively they combine together, now it looks like a mound. Isn't it looks like a mound? Now this is your continental rise. Now in between continental rise and continental slope, you see the slope is gently sloping, but in between there is a gap. The gap is like this. I hope you are able to imagine this. What is this? There is a small valley kind of situation you will get to see, right? And tomorrow there will be a situations where if the rate of depositions are more, then this entire region will get filled also, right? Entire region will get filled as well. Clear? Okay. And we are going to learn our next topic, that is oceanic factors affecting the distribution of temperature, right? We'll now try to understand what are the factors affecting the distribution of temperature of the oceans. Clear? So the first and foremost factor which actually affect the distribution of temperature of the oceans is nothing but latitude, right? Imagine that you have, this is your globe, and there are multiple oceans which are present on the globe. Now on the earth, across the latitude, you have different set of temperatures. You will have little warm water here near to the equator and the subtropics. Comparatively, you will also have cold water near to the poles. You have cold water and you have warm water, right? So the major factor that determines the distribution of water temperature across the earth is latitude. Now why this latitudinal variation of the temperature? It is simply because of the concept of insolation. Insolation concept is nothing but if suppose you have a sun and the sun rays are slantingly falling onto the polar region but directly falling onto the tropical region, because of which the tropical regions and near to the equatorial regions all throughout the year, at one or the other point of time, they will be experiencing direct sun rays. So collectively, they will be having little warmer water as compared to the polar regions. Now you can ask me, sir, polar regions may, only in the polar regions you will have cold water. Can't we see cold water in the tropical regions? Yes, you can see. You can also see cold water in the tropical regions as well. But for that, there is a different reason. Now, what is that reason? We'll learn in the next class, right? Today, we will be exploring only the factors on a surface level. Next class, we'll venture in little more detail, right? Now, this is the first factor. Coming to the second factor. Our second factor, which determines what kind of temperature of the ocean it is having, it is the uneven distribution of land and sea. Uneven distribution of land and sea. To understand this concept, firstly, you need to know the concept of specific heat. What exactly is the specific heat? Anyone who can tell me, what do you mean by specific heat? Can you define what is specific heat? Yes, online, can you define me what is specific heat? Okay. See guys, if I ask you a question, my question here is, now divide the earth into two hemispheres. This is northern hemisphere, this is southern hemisphere. You tell me, which oceans will be having warmer temperature? Is it northern hemisphere oceans or southern hemisphere oceans? I'll not be giving you the answer right away. We'll be discussing this in the next class. So this is a question which you consider it as a homework. And my question here is the northern hemisphere oceans warmer or southern hemisphere ocean warmer comparatively? Now I'm asking you collectively. If you take entire southern hemisphere and compare it with the entire northern hemisphere oceans and tell me which ocean is warmer as compared to each other. So Vipul Bandhu says northern hemisphere, but when you say it, also give a proper reason. Now try to understand the concept. See, because of the uneven distribution of land and ocean, you will get to know that the distribution of temperature is also very different. So see here, you look, this is your Bay of Bengal and this is your Arabian Sea. Which ocean is warmer? Is it Bay of Bengal or Arabian Sea? So you have Bay of Bengal, you also have Arabian Sea. Now my question here is to, which ocean is warmer? Is it Arabian Sea or the Bay of Bengal? See, the answer here is the average temperature of the Bay of Bengal is 28 degrees Celsius, but when it comes to Arabian Sea, it is less, around 25 to 26 degrees Celsius. Now, the reasons are various reasons are there. One, the Bay of Bengal has more fresh water. The fresh water can get heated easily. Arabian Sea has little more saltier water. Now, for that, this salt water, it takes little time to heat, right? And the other reason is because this is sea and this is bay. Bay the opening is wide and water can move only from one side. So multiple reasons are there. All these reasons only in the next class, not today. But come back, when you look into the oceans, now you tell me, as compared to the Arabian Sea, Red Sea, which ocean is warmer? Obviously you say that, sir, Red Sea is warmer. Why? Because it is covered by continents on all three sides. But Arabian Sea and Red Sea, they are all present on the same latitude, right? In the previous case, we have understood that latitude plays a major role. But Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, they are lying on the same latitude, but they do have difference in temperature, right? Of course, yes, they do have difference in temperature. It is because uneven distribution of land as well as ocean. Now there is much of a land present across the Red Sea, because of which it will be having different temperature. You go to the Caspian Seas, the temperatures of the Caspian Sea are different. The depth of the Caspian Sea is not too deep. The water has to circulate at a shallow depth. But Black Sea, you look, the Black Sea is little deeper. The water can circulate easily, or else if not circulation, the water can move into various areas. Similar way, you look into Arabian Sea, you look into Bay of Bengal, because of the uneven distribution of landmass and uneven distribution of the oceans, the temperature of the oceans is also not uniform. Right? Clear? Next is, the next factor which you have to know is, third one, it is your winds. Okay? And fourth one, it is your currents. Winds and currents. So winds and currents we'll be discussing in the next class. And I'll also be answering, is it the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere which will be having more temperature? Answer here is southern hemisphere. I'll tell you why only in the next class. If you do have any doubts, please make sure to message here. This is my contact number and my name is Madhusudan Reddy. I'll be taking up your geography optional, which is going to start very soon. These are classes where the main agenda is to give you the very basics of geography, and in a very detailed manner, in an interactive manner, we will be discussing all of the content in the main classroom. Right? See you guys, and any doubts regarding the topics that we have discussed here, you can directly message me. See you and thank you.